Welcome to this week's episode of the Punk Popcast, where we're going to talk about Rufio's Perhaps I Suppose. Welcome to this week's episode of the Punk Popcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Brad, and I'm as usual, I'm joined by our guy Jason. How are you today, Jason?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about Rufio's Perhaps I Suppose. This is one of my absolute all-time anytime favorite albums. How about you, Jason? Is this one of your top picks ever?
I for sure have it in my top 10. I mean, this was one of those albums. I don't know how it was for you, but it almost kind of seemed like it was the loudly whispered album. Like everyone heard of it and everyone
Mhm.
talked about it. And it just felt like I needed to listen to this album at some point.
Yeah. And I can see that. And for me it was really funny because so I've said before, like everything I had was a burned CD. It was like a mixed CD, right? Because I had friends who had CD burners and we were all using Kazaa and audio satellite or whatever to make our CDs. And actually, the way I was introduced to Rufio was on my Simple Plan mix. Somehow, one slow dance ended up on that, and we all thought it was Simple Plan, even though we're like, this doesn't really sound like Simple Plan, right? And then finally, we had somebody in the car with us, like, you idiots, this is Rufio. Like, Rufio? Who is Rufio? And the next day, my friend, he's like, dude, Rufio, man, he gives me this mix CD. It's like, oh my gosh. But
So it's funny, my introduction to Rufio was through the bassist in my band because I hadn't listened to them yet. But I knew
Mhm.
of them, I just hadn't listened to them. And he made me a mix CD that had just ridiculous, like one song would be pop punk, then it'd be like a random country song that was kind of pop punkish for that time, and then it would be like a really super like depressing emo song. I had to think about how I worded that because we're family friendly. But Rufio was like all over this mix CD, so that's how I got into them. So that's funny. I actually have a mix CD story for once.
Nice, nice. Yeah, all my pop punk stories are generally involved with mixed CDs. But one of the things that I thought was interesting was that a lot of what was on that mixed CD was the demos, right? Like Above Me had the Rufio intro, where you can hear Rufio from the movie Hook, and they're all going
Great movie.
Rufio, Rufio, Rufio. So I thought that was like the actual version of the song. When I actually heard the album version, to say I was a little disappointed might be an understatement. And and honestly, I feel like the demo versions are actually better than the album versions for a few of those songs. Like Above Me sounds better, One Slow Dance sounds better. I feel like on the demo version, which is not something I typically would say because the demo version is like usually so rough, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like they did a better job on their own than what the record company did. So I mean, have you had a similar experience with those demo versions?
I think they're good. I mean, I think because I always heard the studio versions for the album
Hmm.
that I'm so used to them that to me nothing compares to them.
Yeah,
And
and
I
that
think
might be
that's
what
just
it is.
that's like we had this discussion with Newfound Glory
Hmm.
with Nothing Gold Can Stay and the album before that, A Newfound Glory, where there was like an intro and an acoustic part in um oh my god, what's the song? Why am I blanking on it?
I
Um
I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't place it either. Is it the one where they do the thing from The Outsiders? Nothing gold
yes.
can stay. Yeah, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. But no, it's and that might be what it is that I'm more familiar with the demo versions because that's what I listened to over and over again. That was what was on the CD that I wore out
Yeah.
basically listening to. And so yeah, it might just be the personal preference because that's what I'm most familiar with. But Jason, let's go ahead and get into this because I don't want to go too incredibly long. Let's just start with our first track. I'll lead us off here with the opening track, like I said, Above Me. And I was hooked first off, no pun intended, with the demo version with that intro, right? With the Rufio intro. Like that was awesome to me. But then at the same time, like this guitar, the intro with the guitar, talk about shooting out of a cannon. Like it's coming at you hard. It is punching you in the face, and there is no turning back.
It is a frenzy.
It is.
I mean,
And
that's the best way to describe it.
it is a frenzy, and, like, that's one of the things I love about Rufio. Like, have you listened to, their 2005 or 2006 album, Comfort of Home?
I wanna say I have, but I mean, I I
The first
can't tell
track
you definitely that I have.
So the first track, Out of Control, it's the same way. It comes at you hard and it's a frenzy. It's like, whoa, yes, and you're immediately hooked. And that's one of the things I love about this album and Rufio in general is their guitar hooks just absolutely bring you right in. And that's not something that I've seen a lot with this genre before I was introduced to Rufio.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, since you did mention the demo, is I just think the drums sound fuller on the album version
Hmm.
compared to the studio version, and I think that to me makes the song sound more full. Um,
I can get that. Yeah.
the just the and it's just little things like that that I think can really take a song over the top, and I think in this case, it lends to a better sounding song.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, and these lyrics, my God, they're so Rufio.
They are. There is a theme. There is certainly a theme with their lyrics from start to finish. Like, yeah. But no, that's really what it is for me though with Rufio is the guitar hooks were so strong and so loud and it started right with this very first song that I was like, okay, I've got to listen to everything by these guys now. And I can honestly say that through the comfort of home, I don't think I've ever heard a Rufio song I didn't like, at least to some degree.
They definitely were a band that had their niche
Hmm.
in the genre. Like there are like there's bands with dedicated fan bases, and then there's Rufio, who had their own like cult of fans because
Yes,
the
that
songs
is.
were so good.
And that's funny you say that because I was curious, like whatever happened to Rufio? Like I remember specifically when they broke up, my friends and I were like, oh my gosh, we didn't get to see him on their farewell tour. Like, man, like that was something that like even if we were spread across the map, we would have made an effort if we'd known this is our last chance to see Rufio. We would have gotten together in Portland to see them one last time, because they're not a band I ever got to see. I think one of the guys in my core group of friends got to see them one time. He's like, you guys, it's unreal. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. Um, but anyway, sorry, back to Above Me. Um, I don't know. I don't know if there's necessarily any lyrics that necessarily stick out to me. Um, but it is funny the lyrics that go with the music. So like you showed me life and lived nothing less. This is all above me. I'll take your time, your memory bliss, the angel above me. Like it is funny how the lyrics don't necessarily fit with the sound of the music, but at the same time it fits perfectly.
Exactly. It like I said, it's such Rufio. They have their own term.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. So I was looking back at I was curious what Rufio was up to, and everything I read, everything anybody has written about Rufio is that they had a cult following. I'm like, yeah, you could say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did. They really did.
Yeah. All right, go ahead with the next song for us, Jason.
I think I have to pick this song because we both have talked about it so much. I think even on the podcast and for sure in just text to each other,
Yeah.
we gotta talk about One Slow Dance.
Yeah. I agree with you. That is one that we certainly have to include.
And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this might be the perfect pop punk love song.
It very well could be the best.
I mean, it hits all the right feelings.
Yeah, it does. Well, and to say that I wasn't influenced at all by this song would be an absolutely false um because I played in a band for a short time in high school and we were like, we've got to do something, like we've got to have a slow song. And instead of calling it One Slow Dance, we called it I think I told you it was the One Slow or the slow song or something like that, or the One Slow song, something like that. Like it's not the exact same, but it's very close. And we basically just rearranged the chords and some of the wording and kind of ripped off the song, but nobody noticed. And if they did, they didn't say anything.
What I love about the song, and I'll go back to like it hits all the right feelings. Like, I can listen to that and I can think about being at a high school dance, and I can listen to this song and I can think about like when I first started dating Jamie. Like
Yeah.
it hits like the right amount of nostalgia where it doesn't quite take you too far back to where you've aged out of this song. I'm 37, I can still listen to this song and still feel something. And that says a
Hmm.
lot about how catchy and well played the song is.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And if this isn't like more Rufio lines or just like straight up just some of the best emo lines, um, I look you in the eyes, I try to read your thoughts, I ask you to go with me to a far off place. Oh, I look, and then yeah, and it goes on. But like, man, as a teenager, like that is such a good line that if you use that on a girl, I can,
For the record, if there's
man,
any teenagers listening, don't use that line on a girl.
do it. I suggest you do. And if they ask where that came up, I made it up myself because they haven't heard of Rufio. They don't know. They don't know.
Which one of us is the devil and which one of us is the angel on the shoulder now? um,
Feel like Kronk in The Emperor's New Groove. No, he's got a point. No.
that's a great visual. Before we like real quick, I just gotta talk about how great that chorus is, how it soars.
Hmm.
Now that it picks up that pace, you and me dancing the night away. You can feel my heart beating so hard. Ugh, just that pure like first like time in love emotion. It hits so hard. It's so good.
It does, and you know what I like about it. I think one of the things that I've always loved about this song is that it builds to perfectly, almost to like I don't want to say a waltz in the chorus, but like it's really like slow and just mellow, um, un, unassuming, I guess, in the chorus, in the verse. But then you get to the chorus, and it's like you want to dance with somebody during that, right? Like that's like when it gets to that chorus, you want to be dancing because of the way it flows and the way it feels. It's
God, now that
amazing.
you've said that, I can't unhear that shuffle now in the song. That dun 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 dun. Like God, you hit that hard on the head. Jesus. I'm never gonna unhear this now.
You're welcome, Jason. You're welcome. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to "In My Eyes." Now, this is such a cool song. This is one. So, as somebody who is self-taught with the guitar, on the guitar, when I was learning and beginning to teach myself different songs based on tabs I found on mxtabs.com, which I think is now defunct. Anyway, I was like, I gotta learn a Rufio song. I gotta figure this out. If I'm gonna get better, I've got to really challenge myself. And then so I was like scrolling through. I was like, nope, too hard. Nope, too hard. Nope, no, too hard. And then I found an acoustic version of this song, and I was like, okay, this is the one. And man, Jason, if my forearm didn't cramp every single time I played this song, oh my gosh, it's so fast on the guitar, but like the lyrics are not nearly that fast. It's crazy the balance that they found with it, right? Because I was like, this shouldn't be too hard, but man, the guitar is just insane on it, and I love like I talk all the time about how I love the music, but it's again, it's the Rufio balance that it's just like it shouldn't go together, but it's perfect.
So this was my introduction to Rufio. This was the
Was
song
it?
that led off that mixtape or mix CD. Geez, mixtape. I'm aging myself. Um,
If it makes you
so
feel better, I told people to send us a letter in the mailbag yesterday on our podcast. So on
you know what?
baseball
Someone
together.
needs to now. So I might even be the person to do that. Just to do it.
I said, send us a letter. No, we don't take letters. Send an email.
Now you got to set up a PO box.
Yeah.
Um, I love this song lyrically. I love that the lyrics play on words basically. You're graceful, your grace falls down around me in my eyes. You're lovely, your love leaves so easily in my eyes. Um, this is clearly a one-sided relationship, probably on the outs. Um,
Hmm.
but man, and you're right, the guitars in that are just so good. And I'm sorry your arms cramped from playing it, but man, it sounds amazing on that album.
It does. And that's the thing is like when I finally got down to it, like it was another one of those songs that I could bust out at a party and people are like, oh, what song is that? You ever heard of Rufio? Oh yeah. You know, that it just sounds all so good together. And I think, like you said, the lyrics are great with the way that they play on words, and it goes throughout. And on the vein of the relationship part, where it says another day left crying with you in my room with nothing left to do, to say that it's not right. You said it's over now. Stand still, annoyed with no one around. I can't read today. But I don't know if it was like that's like when I finally ever tuned into the lyrics, but that was one that hit me really hard during like a breakup, that I was just like, yeah, yeah, that's exactly how it is,
I
that
always like the line, "High hopes of problems never failed, thinking of the best," because even in this moment of hurt, he's still being positive, and you don't get that
mhm.
a lot in pop punk songs.
Yeah, it's true. And I feel like I don't know if Rufio, like, if they felt like they had to be positive because of the tone of their music, because the music for me is always, like I said, what hooked me, because I felt like it felt very positive, right?
Yeah.
That even if you're writing stuff about being sad or depressed, that you've got to have a positive hook on it because of the way that the music sounds, just so that it does all fit. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but that's how I've always felt with it. So let's go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, I don't know if we can limit to just 3 more tracks, Jason, because this whole thing is like consensus pick, right? But
Basically, yeah.
I don't know. We'll do 3, maybe 4. We'll see when we get back.
The Another Sports Podcast is the home of sports talk for everyone. Every other week, you can catch David and Jason as they talk about all things sports, from current events to classic moments and everything in between. You can find the Another Sports Podcast on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, and more. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review.
9 Plus Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. Weekly episodes for the entire baseball family where we talk all baseball all the time. Available on all your favorite podcast apps and on YouTube. Come join our baseball family where we do baseball together.
Welcome back to the Punk Popcast. So today, like I said, we're talking about Rufio's Perhaps I Suppose. We have 3. I think we're going to do 3 more tracks just for time's sake, because we could talk about this album all day long, but we don't want to take too much of your time. So Jason, go ahead and lead us in with our next track.
I'm gonna throw out "She Cries." It's always been one that has stood out to me on this album, because the lyrics, while still very Rufio, they're different. It tells a different story than the rest of the album, and to
Different
me,
perspective.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just stands out that much more.
Yeah. It does. And I feel like, so initially I would confuse She Cries with Tears, or sometimes In My Eyes, when I was first listening to that mix CD, because I had no idea what was named what, because I didn't have a track list in front of me ever. So I'd be like, so I think that this one was 3 and then Tears was 5. And so I'd be like, which one do I? Yeah. Oh, okay. There we go. I would figure it out eventually. And I think it was the tone of the song, and like lyrically, and somewhat the music a little bit, but mostly it was the lyrical tone of the song that made me kind of waver in my confidence with that. But I think that those two, though, like I said, lyrically, but I think it's because it tells a different perspective of what we're used to, or what the
Yeah.
rest of the album does, right?
Well, I mean, we can't lie about the genre. The genre is very much guys singing about breakups,
Right.
and this tells the story of a girl going through some hard times in her life. And I think that it's almost refreshing, especially now that we're older and we've grown up with this genre. Like, it's refreshing to hear a song that lyrically tells a different story.
Hmm. Well, and so this is something that I hadn't thought about until today. So yes, it does tell a different perspective of the story. It tells about a girl, but so I learned this a couple months ago. So the Hootie and the Blowfish song "Let Her Cry."
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Darius Rucker says that he's the girl in the song. He's
Yes,
like,
he
her is
is.
me, and it could be that whoever is writing these lyrics in the band or for the band, whatever, that they have one perspective is the guy and then the other perspective is the girl. But regardless of whether it's the guy or the girl, it's the same person telling the story.
Very true. That could be.
Just fan theory I'm throwing out here. That's all.
And Let Her Cry is an amazing song off the
It
record,
is.
on the record,
Yes.
whatever.
Officially on the record, Jason. We are recording.
Yeah, I know. It's 3-day weekends kill me.
Yeah. Yep.
But man, this is just to me, it's underrated because it's a different type of song from them lyrically.
Mhm.
It's so good, and I would highly recommend anyone who checks out this album to specifically listen to this song.
I would agree with that. And so I feel like this is like pretty brutal. This line, stay away, he said, don't ever come back home. Cry away her days that last so long, all alone. That's like hardcore. And I could see that going, like we said, going either way. That I can't imagine being a guy and being that harsh to a girl. But then again, with the experiences that I've had, I could see a girl saying that to a guy. But I don't know.
I also think me and you are on the nice guy end of the spectrum, so
That's true. That's not something that either of us would
within
ever
us
say.
to do something like that.
It's true. I probably do have friends who would have said that to a girl, but that's brutal though. That's
It is.
That is not a very Rufio line that it's being that direct and that harsh to somebody. But I don't know, because I feel like they kind of fall on the nice guy side of the spectrum. Anyway, let's go to another song here. Let's talk about Road to Recovery. This is one that I remember seeing that this was the name of the song, and I had no idea what song it was. I was like, man, like, have I ever heard that song? And then I go and I listen to it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite Rufio songs. That I was so into the music that I literally, like, legitimately did not listen to the words at all. So musically, this is one of my favorite Rufio songs. That the way that it flows, the way that it goes through is the way that it builds and goes up and down. Everything is perfect in my opinion. That being said, I used to work in digital marketing for a drug rehab company, and this song went through my head all day long. I would be sitting there proofreading. I was an editor, and I would be proofreading people's stuff about like how to overcome addiction. And anytime anybody said "get on the road to recovery," I'm like, "It's taking all I have. It seems hard as I try. Does it come once again?" All day, every day, for the short period of time I worked for them, that this was the song on loop in my mind, and I still love it though. Honestly, it's still one of my favorite songs.
It is an excellent song on this album. I mean, and really, we're talking about not that every song isn't great, but these are like kind of the cream of the crop, I would think, to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, I love that you thought of the song writing that stuff. That kills me. I don't even know how to continue. You've just
I'm not kidding you, Jason. It was a very short amount of time. Anyway, that's a different story. But all day, every stinking day, this song was on a loop, and there are certain songs that can make you like really hate. Like you can hate a song because of that, right? But yeah. I still listen to it anytime I turn on this album. This is the one that if I'm just skipping through, this is one I always stop on because I do love it that much. That legitimately, it's that good of a song to me. But it is exactly what you would think it's about. A song called Road to Recovery. It is about recovery. It doesn't have to be about drugs or anything. It could be about anything that you're struggling, trying to get on a road to recovery with. Like, I feel like with the lyrics, it could be about drug rehab, but it could also be about recovery from a relationship.
And that's a great point. And I'm a huge Motley Crue fan.
Mm-hmm.
And in Nicky has always talked about like when he fell in love with heroin, and he in songs he has referred to it as a woman, almost like he fell in love with this drug, and it was a romantic thing. And so you're right, it doesn't have to be anything. The road to recovery is what it is for you personally.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and this song was, I think, the first time I ever had thought about that I like I said, I always just assumed that it was about drug rehab, recovering from drug addiction. But then having I don't want to get too deep into it, but having come out of a certain relationship and growing up, that it made a lot more sense. Made a whole lot more sense to me in that sense. But
Yeah.
anyway, go ahead with our last song here.
I feel like this kind of goes hand in hand with with Road to Recovery is Face the Truth. We didn't try this, it just kind of happened that way.
Yeah.
um this one's really great musically. I mean, every song in this album is really great musically. It's part of what makes this a great album.
Mhm.
But I love that first verse. You take a look around, don't like what you see. There's peoples you don't know, but you know they care. It's been so long since you heard the hurting words, I care for you, and it's right this time. Like, that is, this song's about personal growth in a way that really speaks to the audience listening to this album. Especially, this album came out in 2001. I would say me and you and most of our listeners were in their teens when this album came out, or when
Mhm.
they first heard it. So I mean, those are words that like a teenager can kind of rally behind, because it's such an awful time in your life.
Generally speaking, yeah. That's the thing that's funny is like, for some people it's like, oh man, I'd love to go back to high school. But for others it's like, no, I'm good. The freedom was nice, but at the same time, I'm all right.
Now I'm good. I'm glad I did not peak 20 years ago, let me tell you.
Me too.
I might got the stomach that says I did, but I didn't. This is food baby stomach, not beer stomach.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head with this one. That yeah, those are words that you can relate to, and I think that that's something that appealed to our generation so much, or the people are of our age group who were fans of Rufio, especially in high school, is that it just sticks with you, right? That there's so much about the lyrics on this entire album that stuck with you really, really tight. And I don't know. I don't feel
And
like I can say
really,
anything else.
I mean, just from life experience, we've all had those moments in our life where, you know, you've been through some hard times, and you know, someone does come around and helps pick you back up when you need it. Whether it just be listening to you on the phone, or back in the day on AIM, if we're really going to age ourselves. But it was just having that like friendly voice, that you know, that person there. Doesn't have to be romantic, just a friend, just someone there to, you know, remind you it's okay. You know, that's the stuff that sticks with you, and this song is kind of like an anthem of that.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Well said, Jason. I'm starting to feel like maybe we should morph this into an early 2000s pop culture podcast. Late 90s, early 2000s, with
That's a
references to
cool
AIM
idea.
and and stuff like that. But anyway, Jason, real quick before we wrap it up, I would think that we could probably both agree on this, that
It's a
I would
hundo.
it's a hundo. It is. Like, it is absolutely a perfect 100, essential pop punk album. You cannot explore the pop punk genre without going into Rufio's Perhaps, I suppose. And then I feel like you got to go into Rufio a little bit deeper too. Like, 1985 is pretty good. The Comfort of Home is one of my favorite albums ever. Like, this one I put in its own class. Like, there's certain albums where I put it in its own class. This is one of
Yeah.
them. From Under the Cork Tree is another one. But from the comfort of the comfort of home is also absolutely outstanding. Hits every note perfectly from start to finish. So if you're looking for more Rufio, go there next, in my opinion, because it's 10 out of 10, 100 as well. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on Twitter at Punk Popcast. You can also let me know what you think personally. Go at Jojo Cornrow, and Jason is
My Twitter machine handle is at xjasondagx.
very good. Excellent. And we haven't done this often, but I think we should start doing it. You can also find us on I mentioned earlier, I have another podcast that I'm on. It's all baseball all the time. Baseball Together. You can see it on the jersey that I'm wearing here. Jason, let them know about your podcast as well.
I am one of the hosts of the Not Another Sports podcast. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube. It's just me and my best friend David, pretty much just talking about sports, shooting the breeze, like as if you're sitting there with us.
Right on. Yeah, and that's kind of the same approach we take with Baseball Together. You can catch us everywhere and on YouTube. We have new episodes every week on Tuesday. Jason, you guys are every other week on Sunday. Is that right?
Every other week, Sunday at 1 a.m.
Very good. Excellent. So be there when it drops. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway,
We get a lot of listens between 1 and 7, so I'm impressed.
we do
every
too.
week.
We do too. We have I think every week we have a new episode. We have about 10 to 15 downloads between 1 and 6 a.m. because I schedule it for 1 and then I wake up at 6:30 and we always have about that many. I'm like, man, that's crazy. We have that many people listening. I know. I can think of probably 2 or 3 off the top of my head. But anyway, thanks again for joining us and checking out Rufio's Perhaps I Suppose with us, and we'll catch you next week.